Experiment 2331, Reciprocal Entanglement. Humans have always had an innate need to belong. They seek a connection with those around them, trying to find a place in the world that makes them feel accepted and cared about. For some, this comes simply from being a part of a group of like-minded individuals, enjoying the same things and thinking similarly. But for others, it's more formal. They seek their belonging in the belief of a higher power, a force larger than themselves that understands things about the world they never could. There are others, however, that believe that the connection is something more tangible. They see the world around them and all that it is as interconnected. They see the world as a chain of energy with every piece connected to another in an infinite pattern, connecting everything with everything. This is the foundation of the beliefs of the children of vitality. They believe that while everything is woven together by the energy that makes it up, humans have a special form of energy that only lives in them. They believe that it's this special energy that allows for the deepest connection level, one mind with another, regardless of age, gender, or background. While they believe that this energy could freely flow from any individual to another, there were others that they saw as more enlightened and even more connected: twins. They believed that even while they were in their mother's womb, they had an energy to link with each other. Some even claimed that if they were close enough to the mother, they could feel the twins reaching out to them, trying to complete the connection. Of course, most outside the cult dismissed their beliefs as nonsense, but some were intrigued by it, even causing some members of the medical community to do their own research. They tested energy levels, performed EEG scans, and even tested blood samples for anything odd or different. While some of these studies were more benign, others quickly escalated into something more invasive, despite assurances that no members of the cult would be hurt. Several cult members were lost to these experiments, some by negligence and others from intentional harm. The cult severed all ties with the medical world and refused further requests. Years passed, and while lower in numbers than it once was, the cult still existed. A large amount of its membership was made up of one family with 3 generations, still holding on to the same beliefs after all these years. Among this family, there were 2 sets of twins, one female, the other male. The researchers at Pinnacle, after learning about the cult and this special energy connection, approached them with a theory. They were intrigued by this energy that the cult claimed to be able to access and how it might connect the minds of 2 individuals. They'd learned about the cult's reverence for twins and approached them as ideal candidates for something called Reciprocal Entanglement. They theorized that because of this deep connection between their energies, it was possible to bring their minds into complete sync, one essentially mirroring the other and being able to see through the other's eyes. Initially, the cult denied their request, following the guidance of one of the elder members of the family who remembered the experiments they had seen when they were younger. The researchers assured them that they were nothing like those so-called professionals that had come before, and that the twins were in no danger from their techniques. The younger members of the family, understanding that there was no to little danger, argued with the older members, trying to get through to them. Ultimately, they convinced them by appealing to their beliefs. They came to the agreement that, if the research was successful, it would prove their beliefs to be true and could be used to spread them and grow the cult back to its former glory. Both sets of twins were approached and agreed to be a part of the study after being assured that no invasive procedures were going to be performed. The researchers put each set of twins in their own rooms and instructed them to lie on beds. They were each administered a mild sedative, just enough to relax them during the process. A large device sat in the corner of each room. This device would emit ion pulses, the researchers had explained, and would remain active for several hours. The ions would permeate their bodies and slowly synchronize them via photon absorption. They theorized that based on the quantum mind theory, the synchronization of these photons would force the connection that they said they could make through that special energy and make it stronger. It was their hope that this would allow the two minds to work as one, not just connect, even over long distances. The time came, and the researchers activated the machines. The treatment went on for several hours, but the subjects remained relaxed the entire time. Finally, the time came, and the researchers deactivated the machines. They approached the subjects, but they were unconscious. While all their other vitals seemed normal, neither set of twins could be woken up. They'd fallen asleep during the procedure and now were resting quietly in their beds. Nothing the researchers did worked. They shook them gently at first, then more firmly, saying their name over and over and over again, progressively getting louder each time. They even pinched them to see if there was a reaction to sharp pain. Finally, they decided to administer a very mild electric shock to see if it would reset their systems and return them to consciousness. They started with the male twins, one at a time, attaching 2 electrodes to the sides of the first twins' head. The researchers flipped the switch and the electrodes buzzed lightly as the charge entered the subject's head. Both male twins woke up almost immediately, despite only one being sent to shock. They sat up slowly, both moving at the same time. The researchers then asked one of the twins to raise his right hand. He did, and as they watched, the other twin mirrored the gesture. There was no shock or surprise on his face, though. It was as if they were one mind, just in 2 places at once. The researchers were overjoyed at such a positive result. 2 researchers stayed with the male twins for more evaluation, while the remainder of the group moved into the other room containing the female twins. Like their male counterparts, they had both fallen asleep and could not be woken up. The researchers repeated the shock procedure exactly as they had done with the male subjects. But the 2 female twins didn't wake up. Confused, the researchers tried again. This time, though, the eyes of one twin fluttered open. She sat up in her bed, a confused look on her face. She turned and stared at the other twin for a long time, ignoring the questioning from the researchers. Her lips parted several times like she was going to speak, but no sound came out, not even a whisper. After a long time, she raised her hand to stop them. She stood up, walked to the bed of the other twin, with the group of researchers close behind. She leaned in close to her sister and whispered, "It's time." The air around them began to crackle with static, and the hairs on the arms of the researchers stood on end. One reached for the door, scared and trying to escape, but was greeted with a large shock from its metal handle. The twin began to laugh, but there was something different, something off about it. It almost sounded like 2 different laughs at once. "Do you know why our family has so many twins?" she asked them. She continued without waiting for an answer. "Every so often, the special energy builds up so much that it's decided that no one individual can contain it. It's too dangerous." She then advanced on them, the smile never leaving her lips. A special ritual is performed to divide the energy even before birth. Where there was 1, now there is 2. She had them backed into a corner. "I suppose I should thank you, actually. After all, your little experiment here made this," she motioned to herself, "possible." At that, she began to whisper a prayer, repeating it over and over. Nothing happened for several minutes. Then, suddenly, there was a sharp crack of bone snapping and a cry from one of the researchers, the blood from the protruding bone seeping into his lab coat. Another snap, and a second researcher crumpled to the floor, landing on top of the first. As the other researchers watched in horror, the flesh of the fallen researchers began to sag. Where they touched, they began to meld, one absorbing the other. Where sharp cracks could be heard around the room, the cries of other researchers began to muffle as they were slowly being absorbed into each other. Finally, as the mouth of the last researcher was covered with the skin from another, the room went silent. She stood in front of the mound of flesh and bone that was once 5 separate humans. Turning her head to the side, she smiled, cocked her head to the side, and whispered, "And now there is one." Then she turned and walked out the door.